Hey there, ladies, gentlemen, and cyborgs. I am Zach Friedman of Voidstar Lab, the mercenary hardware hacker agency, and you're in my head. Welcome to my weekly podcast. New episodes shot first person through Google Glass every Monday. New how-to videos every Wednesday, and new extra small videos whenever I feel like it. Today's podcast is being recorded as today's podcast, of course, is episode 1 of In My Head. Recorded as I drive to Weehawken, New Jersey to bang out some really obnoxious recurring bugs in a product that I'm developing through to production. Today's topic is one that I feel has been a little under-discussed for no good reason, which is, no, not this one, that's next week's topic. What is it like to use Google Glass? I'm not talking about what it feels like to wear glass, and I'm not going to talk about what it feels like, what it's like to be a glass explorer. I'm talking about what it's like to actually use and have and use Google Glass. I feel like this is a little under discussed because it overlaps with the most important part of Google Glass, in my opinion, which is what is it good for? What's the point? Why wear a computer on your face? Well, stay tuned because we are gonna dive real deep. See, there you go. There are my note cards. Yeah, so let's start with the low-hanging fruit here. Let's talk about physically, like, what is it like to wear glass? The first thing is it's very light. According to Google, it weighs less than the average pair of sunglasses, and I don't have any reason to doubt that. The electronics add a little mass, but the fact that there are no glass lenses, there's a prism, but there are no big fat lenses, probably cuts the weight down pretty significantly as well. The frame's titanium, it's with polycarbonate, the electronics stuff is not as densely packed as you'd think, so it really is quite light. It's also very grippy. The titanium, like the metalwork that forms the headband and the nose bridge, actually tends to kind of grip your head and grip your nose. So it kind of anchors itself in place very well. It's far better than any of the stuff I've built. The glass is my 7th wearable. The first 6 I built, and it's far better than any of those. They clearly put their time and energy into the right place. The hardware is truly excellent. The display, from my point of view, when the display is off, it's almost invisible. You really can only see the outlines of it, which are quite faint unless the lighting is just right. A tiny bit of the white plastic, mine's white, a tiny bit of the plastic body gets into the field of view, but only a very tiny amount. It's right in your peripherals. Your brain kind of edits it out. The same with the frame. Your brain effectively edits out whatever it is that you see. Actually interacting with it, like the head gestures, the touch sensors, etc., all very subtle. They're very easy to use. One question I get asked a lot is, how do I see through such a tiny screen? Well, it's not tiny from my perspective. The glass optics, like the prism and optics assembly, makes it appear as though it's much larger and further away. The way I like to describe it is it's about the same size as holding like the original iPad at arm's length. That's about what it looks like to me. It actually looks a bit sharper than holding a legit iPad at arm's length because of the focus. I believe the Google Glass display is focused to infinity, which means that the screen will appear in view no matter where you're looking, no matter how far your eye is focused. So it doesn't look like it's close. It looks like it's larger and farther away. They say it looks like a 24-inch display at 8 feet. I'm not really sure I believe that. I'd say it looks more like an iPad, right? Like a 10-inch display at 3 feet, it's probably a better way to characterize it. The display, that said, is quite big. The resolution is small on paper, but when you're actually wearing it, it looks crisp. It's clean. You can't see the lines between the pixels. It looks beautiful. There's no other way around it. Let's see some other physical stuff. The trick. Like when I get asked. People tend to ask, like, how does it look? It looks like a fairly large screen. It's just kind of floating in the air. It's not transparent. The display itself is transparent, of course, but while it's on, like, just the glass display is going to be brighter than anything it's in front of, which means that, because of the dynamic range issues of the human eye, you're going to see it and you're not going to see what's behind it. That said, your other eye is, of course, unimpeded, and it can see what's behind it. This causes eye strain. This causes eye strain. The mechanisms of it, first off, for anyone trying to quote that and say that this is a negative thing, it's not. simply put, the eye strain only kicks in when you attempt to focus on a specific part of glass for a long period of time, which is approximately 8 seconds. So, you know, for any of you journalists out there trying to get a juicy quote over, you know, making glass being negative or painful or something, here's the full story, which you must quote, of course, in context. Otherwise, you're lying. The full story is that glass does not cause eye strain. When you attempt to read a large amount of text, or you're looking at the screen for more than 8 seconds, your eye that is not looking at glass will experience eye strain. This is consider this the finer point. The other one is just saying, of course, glass causes eye strain, leaves out all of the details, and is not true. The eye strain is not caused by Google Glass. The eye strain is caused by your eyes. Because one eye is focused to infinity, you know, it can really look anywhere in the scene. The other eye is focused on whatever you're looking at, and your brain can't really rectify the two. So your eye that is not looking at glass tends to get itchy, but after looking at it for about 8 seconds. Google is very smart. Their UX is, the UI and the user experience is designed to prevent you from looking at it for 8 seconds. Pretty much, there's very little you need to do. Notable exception, web browsing. It's a crappy web browser, you know. I'll get to that in a sec. But if you attempt to look at glass for more than about 8 seconds, your eye that isn't looking at glass will start to get, get a little itchy, feel a little uncomfortable. If you're wearing contacts, it gets worse because that eye will tend to stay open a bit longer as your brain tries to figure out how to composite this scene, and your contact will start to dry out a little. But yes, it's the eye that is not looking at glass. That's the important part. The trick is, because it focuses to infinity, you can look at virtually anything. If the thing your other eye is looking at doesn't have much in the way of detail, like it's a flat wall or the sky, of course, not looking at the sun, that would be retarded, you will not experience much eye strain. You can use glass much longer. So that's really all there is about a display. The audio is definitely the weakest part. You have your choice of a bone conduction speaker and an earbud. The earbud is idiotic. You know, what else am I going to say? It dingles when you're not using it. You have to snap it in when you are. It's, you know, the audio sounds nice on the earbud, but who cares? Audio in the bone conduction speaker is a little iffy. They were not very aggressive in sizing the thing. It is a little runty. So the sound, well, I mean, you can hear it, but you're not really hearing it through bone conduction. You're hearing it because it's vibrating in the air, which means that everyone else around you can hear it. Audio is definitely a weak spot. That said, the glass UI is very strongly visual. Generally, all audio stuff that I can think of is accompanied by visuals. Audio is really just for alerts, which are good that other people can hear it, because then you don't seem like you are, you know, hearing voices or something. Other people can clearly hear that you got a notification, so when you respond to it, it makes sense. So let's talk about, that's the physical stuff out of the way. Let's talk about actually using it. So the question, another question I get often about using it is, what is it doing most of the time? What do I see most of the time? And the answer is nothing. It's off most of the time. I know, a little anticlimactic. This was a dynamic that I was not anticipating about glass. I didn't really expect this, to be honest. It's not something they're very public about. It's not something that's immediately obvious about using a wearable, which is that most of the time it's going to be off. All the wearables I designed, I guess with the exception of number 2, I will do a podcast on my homemade wearables. With the possible exception number 2, all the wearables I made were on all the time. They always give you some sort of dashboard. I'll be honest, the way Glass does it is smarter. Google Glass is off most of the time. It doesn't show some sort of persistent dashboard. It doesn't show like a reticle or a little info window in the lower, in the upper right corner of your view all the time. It's not showing anything most of the time. This sounds a little anticlimactic, but the truth is you don't really need it most of the time. It kind of like gets out of the way. The flip side to this is that it's very easy to activate when you do want to use it. You simply tilt your head back, it turns on, and you can do stuff on it. So if it's not doing something most of the time, what's the point of wearing it all the time? The answer is because you're using it, let's say you're interacting with it 2% of the time you're wearing it, if you're being very aggressive. The problem is you don't know what those 2% are, and this is really the strength of Glass. So what does Glass actually do? Glass really absorbs About, I would say 50 to 60% of the things that you would pull your phone out of your pocket for. Let me rephrase that. I would say that glass absorbs about 80% of the things that you would pull your phone out of your pocket for. The wording here is very particular. It doesn't absorb 80% of the things that your phone does. It absorbs about 80% of the things that would make you pull your phone out of your pocket. This is a big difference. Yes, glass does not do, let's get this out of the way, glass does not do most of the things that your phone does. Your phone is far more powerful, it's far more robust, you can interact with it for far longer, and it does most things much better. The thing is, you pull your phone out of your pocket for a lot of things that don't really merit it, right? Like pulling your phone out of your pocket and unlocking it is actually a pretty labor-intensive activity. Glass absorbs it tends to absorb the things that would normally make you say, screw it, this isn't worth it. Really, this is a big difference between glass and a smartwatch. I'm talking things like, pardon me, I'm talking minor stuff, things like quick actions and responses notifications. Like, let's see, big things glass do that it absorbs from doing on your phone are dealing with most notifications, getting pictures, getting directions, searching, and replying to stuff. If it falls into one of these 5 baskets, I'll go into them more in depth in a minute, but if it falls into one of these baskets, glass will tend to absorb it and you won't pull out your phone to do it. You're still going to pull out your phone because, again, there are many things glass can't do, but the real advantage of wearing glass is that it's very fast. It's very fast and it's very easy. So compared to a phone, you will use glass a lot more than you use your phone, and you'll use glass for things that you would otherwise not do because it's just so obnoxious to take your phone out of your pocket. Yeah, that's actually using it. It tends to stay on your head until you activate it or it calls your attention. I'd say in stock form, without installing only installing apps on the My Glass store, the official store. What's a way of saying it? I would say it's for the average user, it's probably it's very hard to say how much you use one or the other. I actually would need to do some research on this because I don't actually know. The truth is, though, I would say it's off about 98% of the time. The 2% of the time is stuff that you would otherwise use your phone for. Think about, like, when you think about how often glass is off compared to how often your phone is in your pocket, or simply not being on. Yeah. So let's talk about the features. I'm gonna leave out all, like, the features being like the real meat and potatoes of this. If you listen to nothing else here, if you listen to nothing else here, you gotta listen to this. I'm gonna try to answer as best you can why you need to wear glass. I'm leaving out the cutesy stuff that makes it desirable, and I'm trying to limit this to the really big, important stuff that answers the question, why do I need a glass? Like I said before, it absorbs things that it absorbs things from your phone. If you have a Pebble or something, if you don't have a Pebble, I mean, if you're operating completely wearable free and you just have your phone in your pocket, you'll tend to pull out your phone whenever it vibrates, unless you have audio notifications turned on, in which case you're kind of a jerk, because then everyone else has to hear your stupid notifications. But I digress. Pretty much every time your phone buzzes, you pull it out of your pocket, or you have got to the point where you're like, it buzzes and you're like, this isn't worth it, I got my hands tied up. If you have a Pebble or something, your notifications are probably sent to that. So you'll often experience, you check your notification and be like, this is not worth pulling my phone out of my pocket for, or that's nice, or something like that. You get a text from a friend, and they say, you get a text from a friend nearby and say, I'm getting a little early. What do you think about, I've got a few minutes downtime. What do you think about XYZ? You'll be like, oh, that's cute. I'm not in the mood for this right now. Same with your phone. You'll pull out your phone. You look at the notification. By that point, your phone's already out, so you might do it. You might deal with it. Either way, though, it's either inconvenient or it's not worth it. With glass, like, you have so little incentive not to respond to everything you get. it's very interesting what it does. Normally, something like tweeting, I have a real problem. I tend to have a real problem taking pictures of things and tweeting because to me it's just not worth screwing with my phone. I don't like using my phone. Same thing like when I get a text or something, when my phone goes off from a text or email, I'm usually like, whatever, it'll wait until I get home. With Glass on, to take a picture, you just click the little thingy and take a picture. I'm not going to go into the politics of picture taking. Needless to say, point is, it's an excellent feature. Take a picture. There you go, that's it. Just click, picture's done. If I want to send a tweet, I'm like, okay, Glass, send a message to Twitter, post an update to Twitter, XYZ. Or just take that picture. By the way, the Twitter thing I said is not stock functionality. I will get to that. It makes these things very fast. You will do these more often. Replying to a text or a hangout or something, if you fit all the caveats, of course. You hear the notification, you look up, you say reply XYZ. So it makes you a more responsive and connected person. The payoff for that is really for other people. For you, it's really like it's taking roughly the same amount of time, I guess, like the same amount of clock time. But the difference is it's much faster. You can do it any time, and you as a result you'll be more inclined to do things like posting and replying, and less likely to ignore them, which makes you just a more connected and responsive person. But let's talk about let's go a little deeper and talk about other things that are other killer apps of Glass. The reasons why you need Glass. First off, directions. Glass is by far the absolute best GPS I've ever owned, used, or heard of. Nothing even comes close. Google has effectively, I believe, with Glass, Google has killed the navigation system. It really is a category ender. It's just the best. You can't stress it enough. I mean, we're talking a GPS like in your car. It's completely hands-free. The voice recognition is excellent when it comes to directions. Like, there's no fumbling with your car. There's no taking your eye off the road. You just look up and you say, "Okay, Glass, get directions to 600 River Avenue, Weehawken," right? Like which is where I'm going at. It's Riva Point, which is where I'm going, and it just does, no dealing with menus, nothing, and it shows you, it shows it to you, and then it hides it. It's not something that's eating up your valuable view of the road and getting you killed. It's something that shuts off, and then when a direction is coming up, or when you just look up to get an idea of when that is coming up, it makes a noise and it shows you. When you're walking, it is the best. There's no having to hold a phone in your hand and watching its battery die by the second. There is no having to orient your phone just right so it lines up with the street. You just turn your head and the directions turn with you. It is truly excellent. When you're getting public transportation directions, you just say you say what you want, and it gives you all the directions, and it caches them so that you can continue to refer to it while you're underground in the subway. Directions are the best. If your job involves a lot of direction finding, I've only tried bike directions a little bit. I wouldn't actually recommend using Glass on a bike because it doesn't fit well with most helmets. I don't know. I find that the upper right part of my viewport is more valuable on a bike than it is while driving, because that's where I tend to look at streetlights. So, your mileage may vary. Anyways, the directions are truly excellent. It will make you superior to really any competition if what you do involves heavy use of directions. It will save you tons of time. It's spot on. You don't get lost with it. It keeps your hands free, keeps you safer. It's just the best. Other thing it excels at is coordinating with people. This is something that's a little subtle. Many people who use Glass will probably never experience this. I didn't. I've had Glass since, I believe, November, which means I'm approaching the 3-month mark. I never really appreciated this until I was at CES a couple weeks ago. The people I was staying with, the people I was traveling with, I guess, happened to be very connected. They were very savvy when it comes to technology and the people in it. And they were also all Glass holes. They're all Glass users. So we got a hangout going, like a group hangout. And it basically created this kind of hive mind. coordinating with people on glass is really something else. When I talked about the replying before, if everyone involved has glass and there are a number of people in it, it really gets crazy. It is really something. I mean, we're talking like, I was having dinner with a friend, and usually I take glass off, but I made a point to wear it during CES because it just got me noticed so much, and it got me a lot of contacts. I was wearing it, and I got a message. We're nearing the end of our dinner. I got a message coming in from a friend saying Robert Scoble is at the Cosmopolitan. And he's interested in your project. And I am like, that's it. I mean, I knew it immediately. I replied hands-free. Okay, on my way. What are your plans? ? And you dictate punctuation. And there you go. While I was walking there, I could ask for tips on how to talk to the guy. I haven't talked to Scoble very much, believe it or not. While we're on the floor, we could point out interesting things to each other. I was asked a bunch of technical questions. I would be walking the floor and something would pop up, and saying, like, I'm talking to someone about glass. Is it LCOS or AMOLED? And I could reply, it's LCOS, in a short enough time frame that they could feasibly work into the conversation. If you're trying to stay coordinated with a bunch of people, especially for logistics and plans, like for dinner, like we all wanted to meet for dinner. Usually everyone has to drop what they're doing and play phone tag for 20 minutes, assuming everyone is actually paying attention to their phone. Otherwise, you're going to miss people. But we organized all 5 of us plus friends in minutes, just on a whim. It really gives you this link. Glass is much better at replying than sending. This is kind of a weird function because the way Glass works in looking up your contacts for voice recognition, it limits the list. The Glass UI, as developed by Google, they attempt to put more than about 10 things that involve voice commands in a list. I don't know why, because the voice recognition is really excellent, even when I've tried it with very large and aggressive lists, but you have to load your contacts in manually. Point is, it's much better at replying than it is for sending. So if people are texting you, you can field it. Also, just the speed of it, it's really fast. The difference between a wearable with voice and a thing in your pocket with a thumb keyboard is night and day. I mean, we're talking I can respond to text. I did respond to text from a number of people in the time it took one person to unlock their phone. Sending text is a nightmare, but responding to text-based stuff is truly excellent. When it comes to coordinating with people, video is something I haven't used heavily, although this, I believe, is really a killer app. You can establish a video chat on Skype style or Hangout style on Glass. This is a real game changer because they're not looking at your face, they're looking from your face. Like, this perspective that you're seeing when you watch my podcasts and when you watch my how-to videos is what people see when you video chat them. So there's none of this crap with having to hold it up to the screen or share your, do a screencast, or worse, have to describe the problem in painstaking detail in real time to the person. No, none of that. They're looking through your eyes. They can tell you, move your hand a little bit to the left, turn that knob a little bit, turn that knob 90 degrees sideways, zoom in on the screen a little. It's so easy to call for help. It is truly a killer app if what you do involves coordination, or rather it can be improved by having kind of when these things really went crazy, the best thing was when we had someone who was kind of running control, who was sitting in front of a laptop back at the hotel. Because you can effectively call in stuff and ask for stuff hands-free, and you have it's like having a control center. If your job could benefit from this, you will be, especially if you work in the field. It will not be a fair competition. You can do things other people simply can't do. There are also things that it does a little iffy. These are things that Glass does. When it works, it works. When it doesn't, it doesn't. Notifications are one of them. When the notification, first off, you have to actually get the notification onto Glass. Glass doesn't really play nice with very many things outside of Google. You can load Facebook and Twitter onto it, and Path, although none of them work particularly well. The notifications are all a little flaky, and they don't really have many of the features that you need. and very little in the way of configuration. If the notifications that you care about are on glass, it's really good. If they involve replies, like I said before, if they involve replies with directions, it's killer. Glass text, you have to use either Android or Google Voice because it will not work with iPhone. Nothing to do with Android, or I'm sorry, nothing to do with Google, by the way. This is Apple not exposing an SMS API. If for the notifications, if someone texts you an address, it spawns directions, like it spawns the directions options. You just click on the text and navigate to it. It's truly excellent. This only works some of the time, though. Notifications are still too flaky and too unsupported for me to really say it's a killer app. When it works, it's excellent. You don't need to pull your phone out. You can reply and act on it immediately. It's truly excellent. Hands-free search. Being able to search hands-free is, I don't know. I've found it. I've never really had an opportunity where I've been like, this is truly helpful. Google now is the hands-free search. It's just you're relying too much on voice recognition. You often do have to bring up a hand, especially if you have to dig through a website for it. Viewing web on this is not good, for lack of a better word. It's not designed for it. It's just this is not a device designed to view the web on. Truth is, I haven't really found too many opportunities where. Hang on one sec. What's up?
Where you going?
Huh?
Where you going?
In here.
Where?
I'm gonna eat in the food court.
Alright, go ahead.
I'm not gonna eat in the food court. Shh. So what was I going on about right there? I missed my spot right there. Oh yeah, the hands-free search. I haven't really found an opportunity when I needed it. I'll be honest. I mean, it was helpful to look up a pin for, when I was soldering stuff, but I had to use my hands and everything. You rely very much on Google services when you're using the voice search. Which is very much a mixed bag. It's a little too windy. You're not going to hear my voice, so I'm going to tie this off. There's the stuff that I use my glass most often for. These are true killer apps, I believe. First off is to-dos. For many reasons, glass is the ultimate to-do list item. It's great at giving you the situational awareness. It's great at making it seamless to view and check your to-dos, which is something that prevents you from doing it on your phone. It's just annoying, and most people don't do it. It's truly the most excellent to-do list device. Another thing is it's great for interfacing with connected devices. For instance, home automation or my car. I just using voice commands I can activate. It's much easier than pulling out my phone and selecting apps. Pulling out your phone and selecting apps sucks. Glass does this much better and faster. Notes and prompts are great. Makes it very easy to take down a note that you would otherwise try to remember and forget about. And it's good at prompting you with it. And another is organization and planning. Viewing your calendar, taking down new calendar events, just staying organized and productive. By the way, none of those four things I just said, to-dos, connected devices, notes, and organization, none of that stuff is built into Glass. Google takes its track with Glass where they're trying to make it this cute device, this kind of like cute life companion type thing, which, it's much better for productivity than for taking pictures of your kids, I'll tell you that. But that's really what it's like to use Glass. This is it a game-changing device? Absolutely. Is this something for everybody? No. There are certain things that Glass excels at. There's certain things that wearable in and of itself sucks at. Glass, by the way, is the best embodiment of a wearable I've ever used. I've built and used many of them. This one is by far the best. So I would say that most of its flaws are in the nature of wearables themselves, or simply because no one has programmed a specific app. By the way, if an app doesn't exist, that's Google's fault because this product has clearly been in development for a long time. If Google has not developed something yet, they have done it deliberately. So the fact that there is very little in the way of productivity in the stock thing, I do not like. What I do like is that for the stuff that it does well, it does it really, really well. I mean, we're talking, it's not even a comparison. You will simply be head and shoulders better than anyone else involving these tasks. It's faster, it's easier, it's much more responsive, and you're much more inclined to do it because it's just so much easier. I just can't, I can't stress that enough. By the way, is glass for everyone? No, it's not. If these are if you've been hearing these, and you're like, I don't care about any of those things. Well, first off, glass isn't really for you. You're not going to get much out of it. But second off, I highly recommend you do start caring about it, because these are very relevant things. Being more responsive, being more connected, being tighter with your team, and just being smarter and having more information brought to you in ways that make more sense. The hardware is there, the software is not, but that's my responsibility. Do I recommend getting glass? I mean, like, if you've been listening to this, if you listen to the podcast and you hear things like, that's something I need, or that's something I can see myself gaining from, then you need it. Sooner or later, you'll simply no longer be able to compete without a wearable. If you hear these things, you're like, this is completely irrelevant to me, then, you're not going to gain anything from glass. I highly recommend you keep your money and don't buy wearables. Glass is not special in this respect from a wearable. Yeah. In future podcasts, I'm going to talk about other things relating to glass, but not actually glass itself, namely what it's like to be a glass explorer and what it's like to walk around with a chunk of wearable technology on your face. But until then, I hope you have learned a lot about what it's like to be a heavy glass user, and I will see you, hopefully, with wearable technology of your own in the future. If you like this podcast, you gotta go on YouTube, search for Zach Friedman, find my videos, and give them all thumbs ups, because it makes me look cool and it makes me fills the void in my heart. You can find me on virtually anything under the name Zach Friedman. You can find me on Twitter, Facebook, Twitter especially, Google+, YouTube, anything. Zach Friedman, Zach with a K, Friedman with two E's. I already said I'll see you in the future, but I really mean it this time. I will see you in our highly connected, tightly networked, wearable future.